In a city starved for a championship team, the Atlanta Braves came into the 1993 season with back-to-back National League crowns. The World Series ring had eluded them, but that goal remained within reach.
Let me say this. We almost did it in 91. We almost did it in 92. And let me pledge to you today that we will not quit until we get it done in 1993.
It was a promise which would carry Braves fans through the winter's chill into another baseball season. The hope, the dream that Atlanta would be the home of the world champions, that after coming so close in 91 and 92, that 93 would be the year. Instead, players and loyal fans alike would again come face to face with the anguish of falling short. The Braves returned from Philadelphia after a 6-game loss to the Phillies in the National League Championship Series. The headlines told the story on the day after. Yeah, the Braves had run out of miracles. They had used up quite a few on the way to their third straight National League West title. Sure, it was a disappointing way to end the season, but when you look back on the 93 Atlanta Braves, you find a team that won 104 games and staged a second-half comeback that folks will still be talking about years from now. It was a heck of a ride. They came to West Palm for the annual rites of spring, not knowing in February the race would come down to the final game in October. They came to West Palm having strengthened an already solid roster. General Manager John Sherholz and manager Bobby Cox had put their heads together and played the free agent market in the offseason. Barry Bonds was out there entertaining offers for his MVP services and wound up moving from Pittsburgh to San Francisco. Cy Young Award winner Greg Maddux was available too, but the Yankees appeared to have the inside track. Their multi-million-dollar offer was higher than the Atlanta bid, but Maddux chose to move south, and that decision would provide the Braves with the game's most imposing starting rotation. He joined a staff which already featured Tom Glavine, Steve Avery, and John Smoltz, all of whom would be all-stars in the coming season.
I thought Greg Maddux was one of the top-flight pitchers in all of baseball, period, and he was only 26 years old. And I thought, personally, that he'd be a great addition to an already great staff. And I still think that pitching is more than, 50% of the game, as they say. And we would have loved to have Barry Bonds. I think he was sort of destined to go to San Francisco in the first place. So we were happy with what we wound up in Greg Maddux, that's for sure.
It's just a little bit more than money. I think, the money's great. I'd love to make all the money I can, but I was looking at a place where my wife would enjoy it, where I would enjoy it, with an opportunity to win, and I just couldn't find any places better than Atlanta.
Everybody knew about Maddux, but who was this guy wearing number 60? This guy with a baffling changeup. This was Greg McMichael, and soon everybody will know about him, too.
Believe me, he dazzled me the first time I saw him on TV. What is this kid throwing up here? And the next couple of outings, I was on Leo Mazzoni, the pitching coach, all spring training. You got to give this kid an opportunity in the big leagues the way he's blowing people away here. It's not overpowering, but he mixes up his pitches and the ball's moving all over the place. So I kidded Leo all spring about giving him the opportunity. And he pitched well enough to make the club, and he's come around and done some big things for us.
Joining the rookie McMichael in the bullpen, a couple of time-tested veterans. 35-year-old Steve Bedrosian back in the Atlanta uniform, and 37-year-old Jay Howell, another stabilizing force back for his 13th big league campaign. When the team headed north to start playing for keeps, this heralded pitching staff led the Braves to 5 wins in their first 7 games. But there was a noticeable lack of punch in the offense. And on a mid-April trip west, notice was served that the Giants would be a different team with Barry Bonds in the mix.
The pitch to Bonds, hit high and deep to right field. David Justice back to the wall. It's gone. 3-run homer for Barry Bonds. And the Giants jump on top 3-0.
San Francisco took 3 out of 4 and moved to the head of the class in the West. while the Braves waited for an explosion from the heart of their order. The big bats were silent. Terry Pendleton and David Justice couldn't get on track, and Ron Gant was struggling to stay above 200. But the pitching, well, the pitching was just fine, thank you. Once again demonstrating his Cy Young form of '91, Tom Glavine was a perfect 3-0 in April. In fact, he would win his first 7 decisions. The staff ERA was baseball's best. However, with the offense last in the National League, there was added pressure on the arms. Greg Maddux pitched better than his 2-2 April record would indicate. Same story with fifth starter Pete Smith. He won 2 strong games in April, but also lost twice as the Braves hovered near the 500 mark with 1 month down. While the Astros and Giants were in a dead heat for the division lead, the Braves were third, 3.5 back. All teams deal with distractions, and the first for this team came when Deion Sanders, mourning the death of his dad, left Atlanta for his family home in Florida. Pondering his future, he stayed there, and the Braves placed him on a disqualified list. Sanders had been unhappy with his limited playing time, while the starting job in center field was in the hands of Otis Nixon. When Sanders returned nearly 4 weeks after he left, the club offered him, and he signed, a new 3-year deal. It was designed to keep him in a baseball uniform for the rest of the season. And he returned to the starting lineup. All in all, kind of a sticky situation. But big league skippers are used to choppy waters, and Bobby Cox navigated these. The bases are loaded, and the pitch. Hit along the line and left. Pretty well hit. This ball is out of here. Grand slam win. It's tied. A long-awaited offensive outburst came in Colorado in early May. 46 runs in a 4-game sweep of the Rockies. A series which also included Greg McMichael's first big league win. In the midst of what had been an early season struggle was a consistent, often stellar play of Jeff Blauser. He hit .337 in the first 2 months. Numbers the Braves hadn't gotten from a shortstop since the Dark Ages. That's Alvin Dark of the '48 Braves. Given his first chance to be an everyday player, Blaus delivered.
He's made me a sort of a prophet. You know, when John Schuerholz and Bobby Cox called me during the winter when they were trying to sign me, the winter of '90, they asked me a couple of things that what I thought needed improving, or what could help the Atlanta Braves. I said, number one, you've got to improve that darn infield. I mean, that dirt out there is the worst. You don't even want to take ground balls out there. Number two, you got to find a spot to play Jeff Blauser, and you can ask him. I said, you've got to get Jeff Blauser on the field because the kid can swing the bat. And they kind of agreed with him, but they said the problem that they had with him was they weren't sure about his defense. Jeff has worked very hard to improve that, and he's shown over the course of the season he's made some great plays for us, and he's been consistent offensively.
Consistent, you bet. .330 and .344 in the season's first 2 months. May 26 in Cincinnati. The Reds' Tim Belcher hits Deion Sanders with a pitch and then comes to the plate. Would there be payback from reliever Marvin Freeman? No. And with that, Terry Pendleton, the Braves' unofficial team captain, stormed off the field, reflecting the frustration of a team not living up to its preseason billing.
I think Terry felt like that some of our hitters weren't being protected, and you know, usually in a case like that, it's always, you know, up front what the pitcher's supposed to do.
Well, I've never seen that before, and hopefully that'll never happen again. I think Terry regrets doing it, and you know, it's one of those things. Players can snap every once in a while, and it was Terry's turn.
The division-leading Giants made their first trip to Atlanta at the end of May. That man again, Barry Bonds, crushed a 7th-inning 3-run homer, giving the Giants a rubber game 4-3. They left town with 2 out of 3 and left Tom Glavine with his first loss after 7 straight wins. May was a milestone month for Greg Maddux, who notched his 100th career win, career strikeout number 1,000, and his first complete game as a Brave. His new teammates were seeing day in and day out what they'd come to dread when Maddux played for the other guys.
He's a big game pitcher, a competitor, and I mean, I personally like taking the field behind someone like a Maddux because you know he's going to give you 150% that night, and you want to be out there behind him and make as many plays as you can if any come your way. But he's just such a great competitor, and he's a big game pitcher. And I've got a lot of respect for him, and I feel like he's the Cy Young this year, no question.
Out of the bullpen, Mike Stanton was brilliant. The lefty was called upon in 19 save situations in April and May and saved all but one. But Bobby Cox was still waiting for the bats to come around, longing for that base hit in the clutch. There were loads of wasted opportunities. Even though the Braves had gone 17-10 in May, they were still losing ground to the front-running Giants. June would be another winning month. John Smoltz had a sparkling 2.25 ERA during that time, but he was just 3-3, getting little support, twice losing 2-1 decisions. There were moments when the bats responded when the situation demanded it. Brian Hunter's 11th inning single capped a come-from-behind win over the Reds. In that game, Cincinnati took a 2-run lead to the ninth when the Braves rallied to send it to extra innings, setting the stage for Hunter's heroics. All their 15 and 11 months got him was deeper in the hole. The Torrid Giants had a 7.5-game lead with 3 months in the books. The hope in July was that better days were still to come. Glavine won for the 10th time and was joined by Avery, Smoltz, Blauser, and Justice on the All-Star team. And there were indications that the solid Atlanta pitching, which was keeping them within shouting distance of the Giants, would soon be supported with some firepower.
Here's the 0-1. Fly ball toward the right field corner. Bliley on the run. Looks up. It's gone. 3-run homer for Berryhill. High and deep to left field. Conine goes back to the wall. This one's gone. Long home run for Mark Lemke.
So they hit the All-Star break at 50-39. Not too shabby. But they're still 9 games behind the Giants, who show no signs of cooling off. The Braves start the second half winning 3 out of 4 from the Pirates. Then John Schuerholz pulls the trigger on a deal that shoots the Braves back into contention. For a team that needed to catch fire, Fred McGriff was the match. His Atlanta debut was unforgettable. July 20th, shortly before 6 p.m., a fire on the press box level of Atlanta Fulton County Stadium turned several luxury boxes into a pre-game inferno. Fred McGriff must have wondered what he just wandered into. His Atlanta debut against the Cardinals would be delayed more than 2 hours while the fire was extinguished and the damage surveyed. And when it was finally time to play ball, the stadium had taken on a decidedly different look.
Good, the firemen are going to get themselves a souvenir. Yeah. They deserve it.
Yeah, they do.
The bizarre nature of the evening hadn't affected the Cardinals, who took a 5-0 lead. But then,
To left field, deep, back to the wall is Gilkey. Home run, Blauser.
2 batters later, with a runner on, the crime dog made his first impression.
To center field and deep. Back to the wall is Jordan. It's out of here. We're tied. Welcome to Atlanta, Fred McGriff.
This is exactly why the Atlanta Braves went out and acquired Fred McGriff. He could run for mayor tomorrow and win.
It's great to be with a winning organization, a winning ball club. The team wants to win. They're committed to winning, and as a player, that's all you ask for. Situation in San Diego, they just decided to just trade away a lot of ball players and just try to save money, and they just wanted to have a competitive team, but they really weren't interested in winning. So it's great to be here.
24 hours later, the fire was a memory. But Fred McGriff's bat was still smoking.
Here's a drive to center field. Back toward that wall. This ball is out of here.
Fly ball, deep left. Back toward that wall. Out of here. Fred McGriff with his second home run of the game.
Terry Pendleton joined the home run derby in that 14-2 rout with his 7th. So did Ron Gant, belting his 21st. And with the bases loaded in the 8th, so did Francisco Cabrera.
High drive left. This might be a grand slam, and it is. Cabrera has just grand slammed.
The first of his career.
The psychological part of that deal was a huge uplift to our club, and you know, and our players at the time, I think, were trying to win games with one swing and, you know, having a lot of pressure put on them. And when Freddie came, it was sort of a soothing atmosphere with our offensive lineup. And as I said, I think everybody just relaxed a bit, and they did the job.
McGriff's presence didn't solve everything. On to Pittsburgh in a game that got away. A 7-4 ninth-inning lead turned into an 8-7 Pirate win. The date was July 22nd, and the Braves were 10 games back. But showing a renewed confidence, they bounced right back the following night. In a game scoreless through 8, Jeff Blauser sparked a ninth-inning uprising, breaking a deadlock with a run-scoring single. The exclamation point on the 6-2 win coming from a Justice 3-run shot, kick-starting the club on a hot streak that would see them win 21 out of 28. It all came together in that 31-day span, and it would change the course of the Western Division race. Steve Bedrosian was virtually untouchable during that stretch and picked up his first win out of the bullpen in Pittsburgh. The lower half of the batting order was producing. Mark Lemke on an 11-for-17 tear. And Greg Olson picking up 3 hits and 2 ribbies and a pounding of the Pirates. Up next, a sweep of the Rockies. Dion with an inside-the-park job in Game 1. Fred McGriff went deep twice in Game 2 as the power surge continued. And Ron Gant's tie-breaking homer in the 8th was the difference in the series finale. Greg McMichael notched his first save and became the new closer. This was a team on a roll, now exploding offensively. How big a factor was McGriff? These numbers don't lie. The bullpen was protecting leads the bats had produced. And the defense was snuffing out rallies quicker than you can say 6-4 to 3. John Smoltz blew away the Astros on August 1st, and the Braves wound up a 9-2 road trip. There were late-inning heroics. Greg Olson's 3-run homer in the 8th sealed a come-from-behind 9-8 win over the Phillies. Otis Nixon's fleet feet provided an ever-present threat. Clutch hitting became the rule, not the exception. There were milestone moments along the way, displays of raw power that led to lopsided victories. And there were those white-knuckle finishes that keep winning streaks going. Yeah, the Braves had all those things going for them in the span of 31 days, and it picked up but a game and a half on the Giants. It just looked like San Francisco was destined to win this thing. Down to their last strike at home against the Marlins, Robbie Thompson rifled a 2-run game-winning homer that had Candlestick Park rocking and had the Giant faithful recalling Bobby Thompson's pennant-winning shot 42 years before. The lead was still a hefty 7.5 games. The Giants had watched the Braves go on a second-half tear and had nearly matched them win for win.
And now these Western Division heavyweights would finally meet again for the first time since May. 6 games in 11 days. A chance for the Giants to deliver the knockout punch. A chance for the Braves to send the message that this fight was going to go the distance. The bell rang at Candlestick Park on August 23rd, and the Braves came out swinging.
Steve Avery went gunning for his 14th win in Monday night's opener and shut down the Giants through the first 4 innings, helping his own cause when he stepped to the plate.
There's a drive to deep right field. Back goes McGee to the wall. He can't make the catch. Here comes Berryhill. He will score. Avery is at second with a double. He just missed getting it out of here, and it's 3-0.
It was a 4-0 game when San Francisco tightened things up. Robbie Thompson's homer highlighted a 3-run 5th, and it stayed that way until the 9th.
In the air, deep left center field. Back goes Bonds. This one's gone. And there's a huge insurance run for Atlanta. Jeff Blauser connecting for his 14th homer of the year. And the Braves now lead it 5-3.
Avery sealed the deal in the bottom half, and his emotional reaction spoke volumes. Winning this series was vital, And winning that first one not only trimmed the lead to 6.5, it set the tone for the next 2 days. Tuesday afternoon at the Stick, again, it's the Braves who strike first.
There's a drive into deep right center field. Back goes McGee to the wall. It's gone. Gant took him out the other way. A line drive homer for Gant, his 31st of the year, his 85th RBI, and the Braves again break out on top.
Perhaps the defining moment of the pennant race came with the Giants threatening in the third. Tom Glavine coaxed a double play ball out of slugger Will Clark. End of threat. Now San Francisco was a picture of frustration. And when Terry Pendleton went deep in a 3-run six, it was 5-0. It ended 6-4, and suddenly the San Francisco lead was 5.5. With the Braves poised for a sweep, the series finale was no contest. In the first, McGriff took Giants ace Bill Swift deep into the seats and left. And Justice, batting next, launched a rocket to right. With 3 in the first and 1 in the second, the Braves went to the fifth with a 4-0 lead. That's when the back-to-back act returned for an encore. McGriff hit number 30, and Justice drilled his team-leading 32nd. Later, Terry Pendleton cracked his 10th, and Damon Berryhill drove a heat-seeker to straightaway center. The final, 9-1. The Braves never trailed in the series. The sweep had made it a race again. The Braves chopping away at what had been a comfortable San Francisco cushion. They left the Stick 4.5 back, and that was still the margin after a weekend series with the Cubs. On the 31st, the Giants hit town for another showdown. Fred McGriff's impact was on everybody's mind, as was the prospect of sending the division leaders and their MVP to be another message. Justice responded to a Dave Righetti knockdown with a towering 2-run shot. An 8-2 win made for visions of another sweep, and it made the boss happy. And when the boss is happy, everybody's happy. But those smiles would be wiped away the following night. Little known John Patterson delivered a San Francisco treat. A 9th-inning pinch-hit home run, snapping a 2-2 tie. The Giants had recaptured a little of their magic and had reclaimed their 4.5-game lead. Another sellout crowd was treated to a thriller in the final head-to-head battle. With the score tied at 3 in the 7th, Ron Gant took aim at Dave Burba's wallet.
And the 1-2 again. Lined off Burba. He can't find it. Manwaring can't catch Otis. Braves lead 4-3.
Once down 3-zip, the Braves won it 5-3. And now with 28 games to play, the margin was 3.5. The bats were something to behold. 77 home runs in the last 2 months, compared with 65 in the first 3. Terry Pendleton continued the long ball assault when the Padres came calling, homering in the first 2 games of a weekend set. The Braves needed some late-inning heroics to complete the sweep, and Justice answered the call. His 2-run shot in the 8th was the difference, and the San Francisco lead was sliced to 2.5. All season long, this team had a knack for winning on the road, and they took 2 out of 3 for the Dodgers. The sting of a 2-1 loss in the opener, erased by a 1-0 Avery gem, and a 13-hit 8-2 Glavine win powered by a Damon Dinger. Berryhill with 3 RBIs on the night of September 8th, and the Braves were as close as they'd been since way back in May. San Diego was the next stop, and Kent Merker, solid as a spot starter, no-hit the Padres for 6 innings. A shutout preserved with some dazzling glove work.
Ball well hit to left field. Back goes Gant to the wall. Oh, what a catch. Let's see if he's all right.
There's no understating the importance of a solid bench. When Mark Lemke went down with a knee injury, Rafael Belliard stepped right in and made an immediate impact, doubling in 3 straight games. Greg Maddux won for the 18th time, but had an entire city holding its collective breath when a line drive found his right elbow. He would have to leave that game, but Greg McMichael finished up holding a 3-2 lead, earning his 15th big league save. And with the Giants in a tailspin, there was now a virtual deadlock in the West. When the Giants lost on the afternoon of September 11th, the door was open just a crack. Fred McGriff kicked it wide open. His 33rd home run was just part of a 13-run, 15-hit double-barrel barrage. For Ron Gant, who had become an RBI machine in the second half, just your basic 6-ribby performance, matching his career high. Bobby Cox could wave goodbye to second place. The Braves were in first, alone. Back home, back-to-back-to-back was back in vogue. This 2-horse race was heading down the stretch. Gant took the suspense out of the Cincinnati opener with a second-inning blast.
6-0, grand slam.
If the Giants weren't getting the message yet, the night of September 15th certainly got their attention. This was something special, folks. Reds 6, Braves 2, bottom of the ninth. Ryan Klesko in the spotlight.
Driven to right, way back. This ball is going to be out of here. He picked that fastball and lined it to right. It's a 6-4 game.
There was still some unfinished business. Gant facing Rob Dibble. 2 on, 1 out, no problem.
And the tomahawk chop, and here's a pitch to Gant. Driven along the line and left, back toward the wall. It is a home run. It's a home run. Gant just homered off the top of the wall. The Braves win. Ron Gant has done it again. Can you believe it? He hit the top of the wall. The Braves have won this game 7-6. Unreal.
The chop shop had become a stage for late-night drama. 24 hours later, Reds 2, Braves 1. Again, the bottom of the ninth.
Fly ball, deep right center field. Back to the wall goes Brumfield. We're tied.
It would go 12 innings, and again, it would go Atlanta's way.
Bouncing ball, great play by Morris. Let's see if Blauser beats it. He does. Braves win. Scott Service, late breaking from the mound. Bill Pacoda scores. Blauser beats Service to first. An unbelievable finish.
Now there was a little breathing room in the West. After taking 2 out of 3 from the Mets, the Braves headed for Montreal and Philadelphia with a 3-game lead. McGriff, who had sparked this second-half turnaround, unloaded a grand slam and an 18-run explosion against the Expos. A 4-2 trip still kept the Braves on top, while the Giants, rolling once again, were within a game and a half as the final week of the season began. This was a pennant race so intense it was heaven for them, and nerve-wracking and exhilarating. On Wednesday, September 29th, the Giants, who had pulled even the day before, stumbled at the stick against the Rockies. The Braves took the field that night knowing a win over the Astros would mean a 1-game lead with 4 to play, and they seized the moment.
3-1 pitch. Driven high to right field. Back toward the wall. Bass, and he can't get it. It hits the top of the fence. It's a home run. This is deja vu all over again. Gant hit one that hit the top of the fence a couple of weeks ago, and Berryhill just hit one off the top of the fence. Good for 3.
But when the Astros rocked Atlanta pitching for 10 runs the next night, and the Giants beat the Dodgers, it was tied with 3 games to go. The final series of the season brought the Rockies to town. The Braves had won all 10 meetings. Make that 11, thanks to 5 Pendleton ribbies. But the Giants won again in L.A., and they were still tied. In his final start, Greg Maddux, en route to his 2nd straight Cy Young Award, won his 20th, while San Francisco again took care of the Dodgers. The prospect of a 1-game playoff at Candlestick loomed. It had come down to the season's final day.
You know, it's weird, isn't it? You know, we won 103 games now. We're on the edge of our seat. I'm sure the Giants feel the same way. You know, we just got to go out and try and win 105 if it takes 105.
It can get nerve-wracking at times, but it's more fun than anything. I mean, this is what baseball is all about right here.
For the Rockies' David Need, it was all about spoiling the championship dreams of his former team. But the Braves were having none of that. Glavine went to the mound and came away with his 22nd win. Justice went to the plate for the final time in the regular season and achieved a personal goal, cracking the 40 home run plateau. McMichael went gunning for his 19th save, and Pendleton went up the ladder to snuff out any hopes of a rocky rally. It was win number 104. The Braves had done their part, but the champagne would stay on ice as the eyes of Atlanta focused on Los Angeles. If the Dodgers could beat the Giants, the race would be over. A San Francisco win would mean a one-game playoff at Candlestick. It would be a Hollywood finish, played out on the big screen, and it would get rave reviews. There they were, bitter West Coast rivals dueling at Dodger Stadium while the baseball world watched. It made for a long day if you were a Braves fan who had been at the stadium since lunchtime, but they were sort of waiting for dessert. Sitting on 103 wins, the Giants came to the end of what had been a dream season. The Dodgers' Kevin Gross shut down the San Francisco Bats, and Rookie of the Year Mike Piazza belted 2 home runs. Dodgers 12, Giants 1. Now the Braves could celebrate. They were Western Division champions for the 3rd straight year. Not just because McGriff, Justice, and Gann had more than 100 homers, not just because Maddox, Glavine, Avery, and Smoltz won 75 games. Don't forget the way Bill Pecota played the utility role for Bobby Cox, hitting 300 and playing anywhere. Mark Wohlers came out of the bullpen to win 6 games. You don't pull this kind of thing off unless everybody plays a part, and everybody did.
And it's just unfortunate that one team had to go home because we definitely did have the 2 best records in baseball. And I mean, it was tough. It came down to pretty much the last day of the season. I didn't think it would. I really thought we were going to go to San Francisco, but the Dodgers came up big today. And I'm just happy, we were able to have won the West.
If you had to tell me next year you had to win 104 games to win a division, I'd say, well, I don't know. It'd be tough.
Well, the 1993 baseball season is history. I think some people are disappointed, but I'm not. The Braves didn't get into the World Series, but look what a year they had. They won 104 ball games. They caught the Giants when no one believed they could. They were just super for the 3rd year in a row. Remember back in 1990, we finished 6th for the 3rd year in a row. How things have changed, and this team just keeps getting better and better. Next year, a different format. The Braves will be in the Eastern Division, but their goal will be the same: to win the pennant, to get in the World Series, and pick up a World Series ring. Can they do it? They have the talent. We'll keep you posted.